Hello, everyone. All right, we are here with Amy Getz. I am so excited, first off, to have you on my podcast. She's a financial advisor who is just so fun. Like, you make it fun, and I think it's probably because how much you love numbers. But I would just love for you to introduce yourself for everyone out there and tell us a little bit of your story. I always love to hear people's journeys.
I do too. I'm like super nosy. I'm like, tell me all the things.
Right.
Yes. So I am Amy Getz and I work for IRC Wealth and I'm a financial advisor. So I help people create financial plans and then our company invest them in the market. So that in and of itself sounds kind of a little boring. But for me, I love it. I am the billboard for IRC Wealth because not only do I work there, but I've been a client for over a dozen years. And so walking my financial journey with a financial advisor has been a game changer in my husband and I's financial life. So I am able to what I feel like is to gift that to someone else because we are here for long-term partners with people. It's not transactional. I don't charge for financial plans. It's not an hourly rate. It is a way to connect in and get on a journey with people. And I feel like that was pivotal in changing the trajectory of my life. And so I want to be able to share that. Fun fact, I was a CPA prior to having 3 kids in 4 years, feeling like I wasn't doing either job, momming or working particularly well. And so we made the decision that my husband would go back to school, get his master's, and we were going to have him focus on his career and I was going to stay home. So in that time, joining forces with a financial advisor to help us on our journey was what gave me the peace of mind that I was still in a good place to stay home while my kids were little. And so I love that I have that background to rely on and realize what a difference it made in my life. And so so here I am today, was not looking for a job. I was cleaning out my pantry and my CEO, financial advisor calls me and I'm thinking, what? Okay, why is he calling me? And he wanted me to do some accounting for some of his clients. And then a year into it, he put time on my calendar. I remember I was sitting in a parking lot taking the call and I thought it was just client specific. And he said, you know what? You can do what I do and you can do it better. And I want to mentor you. And so I said yes. And here we are. The rest is, as they say, history. But being a financial advisor and being in this space was literally gifted to me on a silver platter. So I just say thank you to the universe for knowing before I did what was going to be my passion and what was going to bring me joy. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful story. I loved. You're like, I was just cleaning out my pantry. Typical
Real
mom
talk,
things,
real talk. Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So, something you said in there that I loved is because I think a lot of people feel like they have to wait until they've hit this certain point financially to now start investing. And something you said was that you just wanted to make sure that you were still in a good place. And so, yes, obviously at the time you were a two-income household. Your husband went back to school and now you wanted to drop one of the incomes, but you didn't give up on that investment plan. And so I want you to talk about that a little bit because okay, I'm going to share a piece of my story is when I quit my job, I didn't realize I could continue. And I mean, I was a young mom. I was like young and dumb, but I didn't realize yeah, I had built up this 401k, right? Because my company offered matching and all of that. But when I left, I didn't know where to go, had no clue where to go or that I even could continue contributing. Like I just didn't know anything. And so I want you to talk a little bit about that for maybe the mom out there who's like, I'm a stay at home mom. Maybe things are tight. I don't know. And I know that you talk about a lot too, like just in previous calls we've had together is start small. So let's
Mhm.
talk about all the beginnings for dumb people. Like, and I don't want
Oh,
to
I
say
love
dumb,
that. No, but
but I
like
mean
for
like
just the,
moms who just like
yeah,
me,
don't
I
know
had no
where to
freaking
start,
clue.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I will say, working with a financial advisor is what helped us almost double down on our journey
Mm,
because we had a plan, we had goals, and we had someone who was helping us stay accountable. So
yeah.
I actually had a call this morning with this amazing young couple. and they have big financial goals. They want their financial freedom. They want a big amount and they want it in a short amount of time. And the conversation that I had with them, and there is nothing about me that is a scarcity mindset. I'm all about abundance. But the conversation I had with them was your goals are amazing. And if you would like to achieve them, then what you're going to have to realize is your life isn't going to look the same as maybe everyone in your circle because you don't know what their goals are. So you may be in a place where you are focused in on you don't need a bigger house. You don't need the fanciest car. But what you do have is a focus on creating investments that are going to support the lifestyle that you want in the future. And so my point to that was how I lived, right? When I it's almost laughable now when I quit my job after my daughter was born, my third child, and the amount of money that we lived on compared to, where we are now. It's fascinating that we were so disciplined, and yet that's what got us to where we are. So I've always paid myself first. And I know that sounds so simplistic. I started it from a young age when I got my first 401k. I was automatically investing and maxing out. And even when we chose to go down to one income, I still prioritized investing. So my husband would get paid. And then just as soon as that happened, just like a fixed income, whether it was a mortgage or whatever, I had a balance going to an investment account, making sure I had money going to an emergency fund, and I lived on the difference. And as time went on and more income was coming in, I was able to have a little bit more to live on and also invest more. As Americans, we tend to spend, earn more, spend more, make more, spend more, make more, spend more. And so what I try and encourage people to do is to sort of get your nervous system settled with the lifestyle that you're in and makes you happy. And when you make more, which is what I was encouraging this younger couple to do, when you make more, instead of spending more, start to prioritize that money for your future. And I do think you can start small. I can remember when I was doing $50 a month to a Roth
Mhm.
IRA and $50 a month to an emergency fund because that's what fit in. But I was still prioritizing that before the rest of the spending for the month. So
Yeah.
for those moms or anyone else who's choosing to maybe go down to one income, I think you need to get out of the mindset that everything is gone away and there's no more fun and I don't have any money to save, because you do. It's just a matter of getting your nervous system associated with this is the abundance that I get to live in because I am prioritizing a future where it feels a little more ease, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Okay, there's two things that I have questions around. So
Hmm.
one, maybe talk a little bit more because I also talk about like nervous system regulation and using breath work to do that too, like calming your
So
nervous
good.
system. So I think that could be a good pairing, like financially. But the second thing is, okay, because it's interesting as I have started doing the breath work and started thinking about my goals and what I want to achieve. We have been wanting a bigger house. Like our kids all share rooms. Like this house just isn't working. But then there's been this little piece of me that's like, maybe stay for a minute because your house payment is like basically nothing. And knowing if we buy in this market, obviously our house payment's going to go up probably by a couple thousand a month. And
Hmm.
so, speaking, like, let's live in the realm of possibility right now.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's just say I come in with this lofty goal and I'm like, okay, if I stay here and live in this house, or maybe somebody else is out there thinking about it, and it's like, and then your husband increases his income by a few thousand a month, and then your business takes off. It's like, what is possible in 5 years with a good plan and a good strategy? Because a lot of times, and I like how you talked about the accountability piece because that's huge for me. But I
Mhm.
think a lot of times people get bored with it or they think it's too hard. So I think this goes back to the nervous system regulation. So if we're living in possibility
Mhm.
and knowing that we could set these people up with accountability and shift our perspective on the wealth side of things, what's possible in 5 years? Like,
I
Give us
mean,
a
the
fun
ultimate answer
scenario.
is endless, right? So the
Yeah.
possibilities are endless. And I think it's a matter of, and we've talked about this before, and breath work is about bringing yourself to the present, right?
Yeah.
Be where your feet are. So I
Yeah.
think there's value in being comfortable with where you are and being
Mhm.
happy with where you are, regardless of your financial situation, and
Yeah.
dreaming bigger for the future. And I
Yes.
think there is a lot of mindset work to be done on whether we want to talk about manifesting or the law of attraction, really like
Mhm.
speaking into existence as if it's already happened. And I am 100% on board with strategies such as that. And we can't just sit on our yoga mats and call it in, right? There's
Right.
the aligned action that goes with that. And so when people are saying, okay, this is where I want to be in 5 years, I'm like, let's make the plan for that. And by doing so, all right, if in 5 years you're going to want a bigger house, great. We need to save for a down payment outside of your emergency fund. And we also want to make sure that you're investing in your future retirement. And I say that because time and your earning potential are your two biggest assets. People want to say, oh, it's my 401k balance, or oh, it's my car or my house. Absolutely not. It's time and your earning potential. Time wants to give you money. So I don't want people to say, oh, when I'm here, that's when I'll start investing,
Right.
because it's now, it's today. And when I say it's 50, maybe $100 a month that you're starting to invest. So you take your income that's coming in and you tell it. I don't like the word budget. I think that makes people squinchy.
Mm.
I love
Oh, yeah,
cash
I don't like
spending
it.
plan, right? But you are telling your money where to go. So you're going to set up an amount to save for a down payment. You're going to make sure that you have, and I don't like the word emergency fund, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. I call it
Right.
opportunity fund because I'd much rather
Yep.
have the opportunity to pay for something.
Yep.
And then you're going to set up yourself in terms of investing in either your 401k or a Roth IRA or a brokerage account. And I want you to start to pay for that house payment before it gets here. So
Mhm.
if you're anticipating that your house payment's going to go up maybe by $1,000 in your new house that's in your future, okay, well, let's start paying that now. Can you
Yeah.
accomplish your goals and spend an extra $1,000 paying down your house now? I
Right.
think that is a step that it's financial planning. I think it's super fun, but quite frankly, it's unsexy and it's quiet. It's not, there's not these big moments where you are like, yeah, it's when it seems boring is when it's kind of on its perfect track. When things are automated, you're investing in your 401k, you're putting money aside for your down payment, you're paying down your debt. It's kind of a quiet goal, all of financial planning. Once you get set up, it should really be automatic. It shouldn't really be, buzzing on a regular basis in your brain space. And so for that, I would say start to live like you are in the position of being in the house that you want and see how that feels. Does being able to spend an extra $1,000 align with your goals, align with where you are right now? Can you do that for 6 months and feel like, all right, we've got this? I mean, it sounds kind of simple, but I think putting yourself in the situation now allows you to see what it actually is going to feel like and if that feels good. And if not, then maybe it's not 6 months, it's 12 months or 18 months. And recognize that wherever you are is where you're meant to be. The right and perfect house is going to come for you at the right and perfect time. And we often get in our own timelines and think, no, 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 it has to be this one. It has to be now. And if someone's telling me they want to buy a house right now, okay, that's great. But what if we wait 6, 12, 18 months and see what the interest rates do,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to come down. I don't necessarily think that housing prices are going to come down a lot, but I do think interest rates will. And you can always refinance in the future. But yeah, I hope that answers your question where you're sort of like living in possibility and you're starting to
Yeah.
live that now and over the course of those next 5 years to see if you're actually in the place where it makes sense.
Yeah. And I love we just have to come back to this accountability piece again,
Mhm.
because I'm starting to recognize, even within myself, like with coaches that I've had in my business, accountability is huge for me. And so I think a lot of people out there, and I shouldn't speak for everyone, I'll speak for myself, like around finances and not having the accountability. You know how people are always like, start paying the car payment now, put it in a savings account. Like if you're wanting to buy a car, put it in a savings account for 3 or 4 years and then go pay cash for the car. But what most people aren't willing to do is do that. Like
Also
it's a
that,
super
yeah,
simple concept.
right,
And so I love so much the accountability, oh my gosh, can I talk? The accountability piece
right.
that you hold, because are you self-disciplined enough to create that plan and do it on your own? Like this is me asking the audience, like honestly.
Yeah. And even if you don't save up enough, I mean, look, in my ideal
Right.
scenario, you're going to pay cash for a car, obviously. But even if you aren't willing to wait the 3 to 4 years to save up for that, are you at
Yeah.
least putting that money away and sort of making sure that that payment fits in to your lifestyle?
Yeah.
It's easy to think, oh, it's only $600. It'll be fine until you do it for a few months. You're locked in for the next 5 years, and it's really putting a strain on everything else in your life. So that's why I
Absolutely.
almost think it's kind of practicing, but at the same time, it's actually putting you into your future space to see what that
Yeah.
feels like. Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit too, because I know that you talk a lot about like abundance and
Mm.
all of that. So I want to get into the kind of because yes, we have to take aligned action. Yes, there's a ton of mindset work. And I think even more than people realize a lot of the time. I mean, there was especially more than even I realized in old stories and beliefs that I held on to. And when like our money beliefs are set in place as children. And so let's shift gears a little bit and just talk around abundance and okay, living into our future self by putting that money away. But now, how can we start to energetically match and call in what we're after, but also allow ourselves to shift into abundance? Because something else I see is a scenario that I used to play out. It's like, okay, now we're paying that extra payment or whatever, even though we're putting it into our savings account. We're like, I need to increase my income. This sucks. There's never enough money. Like, then we start getting, you know what I mean? So it's
I
like, oh my
do.
gosh, am I ever going to do this? So let's
Yeah.
like talk a little bit on just shifting that mindset and getting into the energy of abundance instead of sitting in that lack and scarcity.
Yeah. I love this. Right. And I think it's crucial to really play in this space of, all right. And what I talk to people about so often is, well, first of all, what are your limiting beliefs around money? I grew up
Mhm.
with money doesn't grow on trees.
Yep.
That was the story. There was just enough, maybe not more where that came from. And so I really had to work through. In my mind now, I'm like, yes, it does. My investment accounts are my trees, and the
Mhm.
dividends and interest is what's growing on them, right? So I've
Yep.
I've shifted that, but the point being, what was the story? And so recently I had a conversation with someone and she's like, well, we didn't talk about money in my home. And I'm like, okay, but did you talk about other people's money? Right. And how other people would, and she was like, oh my gosh, I never considered that. Right. So really thinking about the stories that were talked about in your home, which sounds like, what? Come on. Like, do I really need to dive into that? And I would imagine there's some level of your money mindset today that is tied in with what you heard as a child. And what I would encourage
Absolutely.
everyone to do is to look at those beliefs and decide, are they really yours? Or have they just
Yeah.
been adopted and you haven't challenged them? um,
Yeah.
the idea that people with money are greedy, the idea that the more you make you're going to have to pay taxes on it, so what's the point? Like really starting to lean into those beliefs, or the way your family talked about money inherently. If that's how you feel like your whole family structure feels about somebody that lives in abundance, our nervous system is inherently saying, I don't want them not to like me. I don't want them to talk about,
Hmm.
right? And so you really need to dive in and look at those beliefs. But specifically for abundance, I mean, it sounds so trite, but really it's about having gratitude for where you are. I oftentimes like to ask people too, like, what would money say about your relationship with it? Right? Like,
Yeah.
would money say, oh, they're ignoring the heck out of me? Would money say, oh, we're having way too much fun? Would money say, I don't have a relationship at all with you? Right? So what would your
Yeah.
money say about your relationship? And what I mean by that is you need to be intentional around your money. Everyone thinks it's the monster under the bed. It's so scary. And I'm like, it's really not. It's just data. It doesn't define who
Yeah.
you are. And when you start to put some intention behind your money, behind the conversations around money, is when I feel like the levels of abundance start to unlock. And if you want to, go down the path of sort of the more spiritual, if you're not okay with the money that you have, if you're not in gratitude, if you're not in a space of realizing that you still have something to give, even when you don't feel like it's your treasure, we all have time and talent to give. You need to be in a space of gratitude and recognizing that money is a flow. There's a giving and a receiving that goes with it. So when you are unhappy with where you are, and don't get me wrong, years ago was in a place where it was a struggle. Financially, it
Yeah.
was tight. And you still have to recognize that that's where you are and be happy with it. And I think that's one of the things that we struggle with is being grateful for where we are and being able to look around on a daily basis and say, well, I have a roof over my head. Well, I'm able to pay my car payment, right? And it's when you can be in gratitude for what you have is when you continue to be given more. And
Yeah.
I think it is such a simple concept. Um, but I think we need to look at our childhood beliefs. We need to be grateful for where we are. And we need to be living in the space of we're all worthy. I'm not more worthy than you. There's no pie in the sky where if I have more, you get less. And when you can live in the space of abundance, it's from the overflow, right? If you're just looking to have enough, well, enough covers your basic needs, right?
Yeah.
When we have our basic needs met, we feel safe. Amazing, right? But it's from the overflow where we are able to give in a greater way to others and the
Yeah.
world. And so I want people to get out of the limiting belief of I just want enough to pay my bills or I just want to get out of debt. You're just asking to get to a minimum. And I'm
Yep.
like, no, we're for profit here, especially women, right?
Yeah.
Women definitely are in a place of giving everything to everyone else. And,
Yep.
I believe wealthy women change the world. Wealth is defined by a lot of things, right? Wealth of
Hmm.
knowledge, but, specifically financially. And so I am want to change the story of women to say, look, the more you have, the more good you can do in this world and
Yeah.
the better you feel, right? The more you're
Yeah.
giving to yourself, there's nothing wrong with wanting a lovely handbag or an amazing trip, right? It's the
Yep.
vibration that you're attracting and that you're giving. And the more that
Yeah.
you're in that space of feeling like you're in abundance and overflow, the more it actually starts to circle back to you because it's a movement, it's an energy flow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that because I do think, yeah, we as women give, give, give. We give everything. We give our souls to everyone else.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Guilty as charged.
I,
I did too,
oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the first several years of my marriage. And then we just like lose ourselves. And it's like, wait, what do we desire? And
Mm.
now, how can we create that for ourselves as well? Like, I think financial independence is the most beautiful thing because, at least for me in my case, I used to feel stuck in
Mm.
my circumstance, stuck where I was, like stuck without options. And a lot of that was around my current financial circumstance. And
Mhm.
once you decide to change that and realize, no, I can have the things that I desire and
Mhm.
do the things that I desire and give where I desire in a way that I desire, like it opens up a whole new
It
world.
shifts. I also
Yeah,
think personal finance is a team sport, right? Whether that's a romantic
absolutely.
partner or a business partner. I mean,
Hmm.
have the conversations, be intentional
Yeah.
around having the conversations on a regular basis around money, like
Yeah.
making that a priority. I mean, and even in a personal story, I live in the space of abundance.
Yep.
I'm grateful to be here, right? I've been working on this my adult life. And I talk about having money dates. I talk about being intentional with your
Hmm.
money. And quite frankly, I hadn't been. I didn't have to give it too much time and energy and worry, right? And so
Yep.
I kept feeling like there was another level and I wasn't sure what it was. I couldn't put words to it. And I recently sat down and just went through all of our spending as a family. I
Hmm.
really just created very intentional spreadsheet conversations. We now, as a family, have a monthly check in, which is interesting. I
Hmm.
have three teenage, not three teenagers anymore. They're like 17, 20, and 21, and they're spending, and they're in college, and so we're having a family meeting around money
Yeah.
and having conversations around money. And even the fact that my husband and I are speaking more intentionally about it and what our goals
Hmm.
are. I mean, we are in a place of abundance. And so honestly, I was just kind of ignoring it. And by
Right.
doing that, I didn't recognize that that was a bit of a scarcity mindset because I wasn't giving any attention to it. So if I'm not
Yeah.
spending any intentional time with my money, then I'm not unlocking the next level to receive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So good. So good. Ooh. Okay. So, two questions
Yeah.
for you. The first one is, where can everyone find you?
Oh, so nice. Thank you.
Yes.
So, ircwealth.com is the website. And my email is amy@ircwealth.com. And I'm on Instagram at Amy W. Getz Finance. And I'm on LinkedIn. So those are the places where I connect in with people. Yeah. So that's where people can find me.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, and then the second question is, let's just say for the woman
Mm,
starting on braving her financial mountain, what is
mhm.
one piece of advice that you would love to leave her with today?
Um, yes. So first of all, know your numbers, right? Just,
Hmm.
and I'm not talking like you've got to get fancy with QuickBooks. I'm not even talking an Excel spreadsheet if that feels, sometimes the barriers to entry are things like, I don't know how to do this or I don't know how to do that. Pen and paper, what's coming in, what's going
Yeah.
out. Okay. Find out what that differential is. And
Yep.
inevitably, I want people to set up a savings account, could be tied right to their current bank, and I want an automatic transfer every month going into savings, whether that's 20, 50, 100, 500, whatever it is. Start to prioritize yourself, even when it feels like you can't. Because when you start to prioritize yourself in a small way of saving, you're starting to put intention behind your money and you're starting to prioritize who you are. You're starting to
Yeah.
prioritize your future, right? And that starts to feel good. So that is like if you're just starting on your journey, that would be my advice. Know your numbers and set up something automatically to start to save so that you start to build a little nest egg.
Yes.
Or
So
as
good.
some people call it, everyone needs a little just for the hell of it money.
Yeah.
We all want to have a little fun. And
Yep.
I'm the type that is, as a financial planner, I'm always like, how can we make more money versus how can we cut everything down? Right. Because
Yeah.
that doesn't
Yep.
feel great. So let's get creative. How can we make even more money? And I think starting to
Yes.
set some intention behind it is the first step.
Yeah. Ooh, that is so good. I love that because yeah, you can only cut out so much, but the income earning potential is
Endless,
endless.
endless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Amy, thank you so much for being here today and for
Thank
everyone
you.
who has listened. Yes.
Oh my
We will
gosh.
talk to you next time.
Yay. Thank you.
Yep.